Demo, Lenore, knee out. Nick Bosa, hip oblique out. Trent Williams, ankle out. Christian McCaffrey, just rest. Brock Purdy, right shoulder, limited. Pooney, shoulder, limited. Greenlaw, Achilles, limited. Kevin Gibbons, groin, limited. That's it.
With Lenore, what was the diagnosis?
He just banged knees.
He's making some. Well, is it long term or?
It's.
I mean, he's out today.
What's that?
I know he's out today, but just is it concerned that it could be long term?
He can't go today, so I mean, but no, we're not rolling out for this week. Hopefully, we'll be able to go more.
As far as Brock, I think he was limited last Wednesday. He didn't do any throwing. Will it be like that, or will he actually be throwing the ball?
We'll decide when we get out there.
Jacob Cowing's out of the protocol?
Yes.
Okay.
Kyle, Daniel Jones signed with the Vikings today. It was been reported that I think that you guys may have had some level of interest. How would you describe your guys' interest in him?
Oh, we discussed it. Yeah. That's about it.
If when you said Calvin is out of the protocol, what do you think of Ricky Pearsall, how he looked back there fielding punts, and would you consider making him the full-time guy?
I thought he did a good job. But no, I mean, didn't consider making a change or anything. Jake's healthy, he'll probably go, and but we got two good options here. Rick did a real good job.
I know you guys are off tomorrow, but how much work will you put in despite it being Thanksgiving?
Oh, we're not off tomorrow.
You're not off tomorrow.
I don't know anyone who gets Thanksgiving off. You start a little bit earlier, you cram a lot in. There's less time in between. Everyone has different ways to do it. But I don't know anyone who gets it off unless maybe you have like a Monday night game, you have an 8-day week, maybe you can do that. But you just start a lot earlier, you get the players out. You usually don't watch film right after. You usually pick that up the next morning pretty early. So, did you ask when I get out?
I didn't know if you were working or not. I knew you were going to be working, but I didn't know how much.
No, we cram everything in. The players get out earlier, so it allows us to start. We usually do on Thursday nights our red zone. We prepare for our team meetings and everything that we do Friday morning. But everyone gets out, tries to be home with family by 5. I usually get home around 7, and they're all mad at me. And then I eat my dinner and get back to the red zone.
I think John on KNBR discussed Trey Greenlaw doing some mock games out there on the practice field. What's that all about? What went into those sort of sessions to get him ready for opening this window this week?
I didn't watch them or anything, but that's what all our guys kind of go through. We're on IR, like Huff's doing that this week. You're just not allowed to be with coaches or anything like that until you open their window. So they don't like their first time doing true football drills and everything to be that. So when they go out on their own with their training staff, they're doing less like rehab stuff and more doing like what they would do an individual. Trainer taking them through that, doing the reps of what they do in practice. They try to get a normal practice weekend so they can get their yards, all their output and input, whatever it is. For the GPSs and everything that they do in a normal Wednesday practice to see how sore they are on Thursday, but then do the same thing on Thursday to see how sore they are on Friday, and then try to have a workout on Sunday to see that. And they do that, and then we open up their window, and then they have 3 weeks to go through that before we can make a decision.
Signal that Hufanga's window might be opening up soon as well.
It signals that it's got a chance to.
Fred after the game said you feel like the defense is prepared for some of the Packers run looks that's out there in Camaro, and that's an indictment of the coaching staff. That's one said. I mean, is that a fair characterization of what happened, and were you disappointed with the level of preparation?
No, not at all. And two new runs that they haven't done before. They're not new runs; they're just formations, which happens every week. I mean, that's all we really do. We try to come up with a new formation around the same run and try to get guys to take the bait on something. And they had a new one, and they took the bait twice and got our guys out of a gap. But that's every week.
How much of a lift do you think it's going to be to get Dre back out there?
We'll see how it goes.
To the players and stuff.
It'll be awesome just having him on the field. We love when Dre's around, whether it's on the field in meeting rooms. He's 100% ball. Everyone loves him in here, and just watching him fly around out there today will be real fun.
Coach, after watching film from the past game against the Packers, knowing that you're preparing for Buffalo, what have you kind of reflected on when it comes to the miscues and the self-inflicted wounds that you're kind of harping on in practice, if any, taking it to Buffalo this weekend?
There's not much secret to it. We've got to tackle better, and we can't turn it over 3 times or 3 drives in a row. The penalties that we can change, a couple pre-snap penalties, 112 on the field. one bad holding that we had. Those are the ones that we got to fix.
With the weather possibly snowing, how does that impact your, just I guess, your plan, your scheme? Do you have to do extra preparation for that contingencies, or you just shift on the fly?
No, I mean, you got to have an idea of how the game's going to play out and how it's going to go, which you do in every situation. I mean, you have an idea of that if you have certain guys get hurt. You have an idea of that, but the weather always changes. You know, when you go into it and you hear that it can be the weather that it is, you take that in your mind a lot, understanding how the game can be, but you don't make a full game plan for that because listen to plenty of weather reports that change that day too. So you got to be ready for anything, just like you are with injuries, but we fully understand what the elements may be.
Kyle, since CMC came back, you're not really using Garendo or Mason that much. I think 7 carries combined in the 3 games. Is it their ball security issues is an issue, or is it just the greatness of McCaffrey precludes them from getting on the field?
No, I just think, I mean, even when Mason was going a ton, we didn't get Isaac a lot, you know. So, I mean, we're not just a big 3-man rotation team, especially when you have a solidified starter. You know, we're not trying to get Christian off the field more. I mean, we want to keep him fresh and keep him at his best, but Christian's also a guy who gets better as he goes. He's a guy who feels a lot more comfortable being out there. I also don't think the way these games have gone, I mean, we didn't run the ball much last week at all in general. So not many people, I think we got 14 runs, so when that's the case, you're not going on long drives. You only have 13 plays or 14 plays in the whole first half, with one of them being close to a 2-minute drive, the others being 4 and out. It's just not going to work out that way.
Have you talked to him in terms of just how he's feeling, if he feels like he's kind of has the same steps that he had in past years? And I mean, that first game looked like the second effort that he usually plays with was there. There just wasn't room to run.
Yeah, I think, we haven't played that well these last 2 weeks, or we haven't got the running game going these last 2 weeks. Thought it was better versus Tampa. We just didn't get a big one. But I mean, the speculation on Christian, I think, is a little bit unfair to him. Christian's playing very well. He's playing his ass off. But to think a guy who misses an entire offseason is just going to be the exact same the day he gets back would be unfair to any player in the world, I feel like. I mean, guys who miss off seasons and miss training camp, usually it takes them a little bit of time at the beginning of the year to get back into how they were the year before, let alone missing half the season also on top of that. So I think Christian's doing a hell of a job, but to just think him coming back in week 8 with not being able to do anything for the last 9 months or whatever it is, and to think he's just going to be in MVP form is a very unrealistic expectation.
He seems like a guy that
Is it more physical things that he's still trying to get back, or is it just vision, or is it maybe a little bit of everything?
I think he looks real good. I think he's playing very well. I don't think he's had a bunch of clean lanes. I think he had a couple versus, when I say a couple, I actually mean 2 versus Tampa, and he hits those 2, which maybe is just half a step off just with seeing it, but you hit those 2 and completely change yards per carry, which will look better from an outside perspective. It won't change anything in actually what's happening. So to sit here and talk like he's struggling, not going to do that at all, but for us to be disappointed that he's not exactly how he was or just right in MVP form, that'd be unfair with any player.
he seems like
matter of
but
fact and direct approach in times when you're winning. I'm curious, do you think when times you're struggling like now, do you choose your words differently? Do you want to be the same guy every day, or how do you approach that?
I don't plan anything really like that. I don't turn to chapter 4 in my book and say how to act this week. I look at what's happening. I look at who we're playing. I look at every situation that it is, and that's the stuff I address. Like, it's not a movie. I'm a football coach, and I address our team for the reality that we're in. And the reality that you're in isn't a story. It's what we see on that tape. It's what we do in practice. It's what our situation is with injuries. It's who we're playing. And that's really what you do day in and day out for an entire season, for preseason, off season, to winning, to losing. It's really all the same. You just coach and do everything you can to get everyone's skills right.
Kyle, Christian seems like a guy that takes maybe his lack of production very personally. He sat in his locker for about 15 minutes after the game on Sunday. And do you have to talk to him and make sure that he's okay mentally?
And that's what makes Christian great.
Yeah.
Christian, I've told you guys, he's a psycho in the best way possible. I mean, Christian had a fumble there at the end of the game. No matter what I say to him, he's not going to forgive himself for a fumble for probably the rest of his life. He'll still be mad at himself for that. That's just how he rolls. That's his mindset and everything. And you can choose to see him in OTAs if he drops the ball and how he acts after that. And apologizing to us later in the day for a dropped ball in OTAs on period 1. So like, that's what makes him great, and it means a lot to him.
Take two more.
Colin, you're 5 and 6, and we're about to be in this situation. I'm sure you're shocked to learn you're being criticized. You should do this, you should do that. So when you look at your performance, this season, I mean, how would you grade yourself, or like how are you doing?
That's up to you guys to grade me. I work as hard as I can to get a win that week, and we haven't won as much as I believe we should have. We've lost 3 games that I feel we were capable of winning and should have won. Those are the ones that are the toughest. In terms of grading myself, like, I'm not going to grade myself. I'm going to work as hard as I can, and I'm the same guy I am right now that I've always been. We got to overcome some things that we're in right now, and I believe we can overcome them, but we put ourselves in a tough bind, and that's why we got to be extremely good and successful here going forward to be able to overcome that stuff.
On that note, there's a lot of people online who are saying a lot of things. I know you don't always look at that, but a lot of those people aren't in your locker room. What do you make of the vibe in your locker room right now?
The vibe in our locker room is, exactly how you would think it'd be. We're upset with where we're at in our record, but when we got a tight group and we play together, and I think if you live in the world online, it's whether you're dealing with our profession or your kids dealing with social issues in school. You're not going to be happy if you're dealing with the world online. And I've definitely coached long enough that I don't deal in that world. Only online I would look at is usually movie stuff and rap battles and funny things that animals do. So it's good or bad. You listen to good stuff, like that'll mess you up more than anything. And when you listen to bad stuff, it'll crush you. So that's not why any of us do this. And you got to work with younger guys on that. I think it's harder just because of the world that they've been brought up in. But that's don't make someone else's reality your reality. You got to focus on what your job is and never get away from that.
Last one, Barrows.
I know that Brandon Allen and Ricky Pearsall must not have had a lot of reps together, but Pearsall wasn't targeted in the game. Is he getting open as well as you like? Where has he been the last few weeks as far as?
He's been fine. It doesn't work out that way. They played. You talk about getting open. I'm talking about getting open as do you beat man coverage? They played 2 snaps of man coverage and on our drive at the end of the third quarter where we went down and scored, and they didn't do it after. So that's about high-lowing people. When they play deep, you check it down. It's about getting screens to people is really the only way you can dictate they get a touch. But when you go to zone defenses, I don't really look at that as can guys get open. It's how are we dispersing the field? What's the time to go through a progression? And do they catch it when we go to them and get up the field?
All right, guys.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Sorensen's heading in.